I was central London sales manager, 60 clubs. And by then, I'd had enough. It'd been diluted. I was disillusioned. I was just a number.
Right.
When I first started, I felt like you made a difference.
Yeah.
And then I came back and I was like, this is totally changed. This is just a machine.
You're a very small part of a very big machine at that point, aren't you? When you've gotten to that global level and you can see the contribution you're making, but maybe that's not valued. And I think a lot of people start to get disillusioned with work because of exactly that. They're just a very small part of a big machine. This week on JobsWorth, I'm joined by Damien Stone, MD of Braestone Construction, Land Investment Partners, and Braestone Self-Storage, located in the heart of Leigh-on-Sea. Does that all sound correct?
It does.
So I'm talking to the right person. That's fantastic. It's a good start. We are going to start with the opening tradition on the podcast, Damien, which is the question, when you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up?
What did I want to be? It was probably a fitness instructor, which is what I ended up doing.
How old were you when you had that thought?
Mid-teens.
Okay.
Yeah, so in my mid-teens. That was probably, I'm a little bit older than you think I am, but it was when the fitness industry was exploding, and it was really taking off. And I was into my sport, so I wanted to go into that industry. It was when all the gyms started popping up, and I jumped on that bandwagon a little bit later on. Okay.
When I ask that question, usually people have an earlier memory than mid-teens. Now, I'm not going to ask you to go back any further than that if you don't have anything that jumps out at you. But I was a PT for a time, and I got into it 17, 18 years old. And that's kind of when you start going to the gym yourself, maybe, and start playing sport, and you can kind of link that, I could make money working in gyms, working out, exercising. Have you got anything that you were doing prior, or any inspiration around you prior to that?
It's an interesting link, just in terms of career, because when I was at school, all my friends, we were talking about careers, and they all of my mates were going to go and work for their dads. They all had their own businesses, so they were all going to just go and work for dad, and that was kind of the given. But I went home and I said, look, there was a careers advice day, something like that going on, and I said to my mum and dad, look, they're all working for the dad, so I guess that's probably because my dad had his own firm. And my mum said, let me stop you there, son. That's not going to be happening. We didn't have it handed to us on a plate.
Interesting.
And it won't be for you. We'll help you, but you've got to go and make your own path. Right. And that's probably one of the most important things my mum and my dad said to me back
I can
then.
imagine that becomes a bit of a key, cornerstone memory, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. But it didn't change. I wasn't really aware of what I wanted to do.
But you just knew at that point that is not a route that you're going to be kind of have facilitated for you. I think that's a healthy thing. It's great to be able to support your kids, but if you just say, look, you go out and find your own way, I don't think that's a bad thing to have happened. Yeah. So then it was fitness industry, making that connection, seeing the industry blow up and start to get busier. Do you mind me asking when this was? Like what year this was happening?
It was construction first. It was construction first. Yeah. But I was still, I was working at the Brentwood School as a recreation assistant, and setting up badminton courts and bits and pieces like that, doing kids' parties. Right. I went into construction when I left school. Okay. So I started labouring on site. And that was just before we went on a family holiday. And then while we were on holiday, so I was working for a local builder, labouring, doing all sorts on the sites. And we went on holiday, and as we went, the guy that was working for said, look, when you get back, it's a full-time job, we'd love to have you. And then while we were away, my mum said, so you got your exam results, what university or college are you going to go to? And I said, actually, Mum, I'm going to go back to site. which didn't go down very well.
Talk to me about that reaction then. Talk to me about that reaction, because you've obviously got parents that have got a vested interest in trying to support you in what you want to do. I think even saying, no, you're not coming down this way is a conscious thing, isn't it? It's them trying to help you in some way. It
had a profound effect, really. I'm born in Basildon. I'm a Basildon boy.
Yeah.
So and the school, and I lived dead opposite the school. Mum and Dad started doing really well in their business, and they then sent me to private school, which was a tough pill to swallow at the time, because I had to put my uniform on and get in the car, and all my mates were crossing the road, and I'm going out in a blazer and a flat cap.
How old were you at that point?
I was 11.
Right. So I guess 12. You kind of got a core group of mates from infant school, and then you're going into infant school, junior school, and then going into private school and at
then
secondary age.
It was then for like the 11 plus. So that's at that age. That's when I went to.
So what were you like at school? I don't want to take it all the way back. We're not going to spend too long on this, but what were you like at school? Were you a confident kid? Were you academic?
Definitely confident, but not academic. Okay. I was. I got suspended a couple of times.
Okay.
I was not particularly academic.
Right.
But what I did really, really, really appreciate from that experience going to that school was I understood. I got discipline. I got discipline there.
Right.
From the school I was at in Basildon, teachers would walk in and we'd be throwing Lego or whatever it was at each other. When a teacher walked into the room, we stood up. You stopped your work. You showed respect. And so those were the sort of the fundamental principles that I learned.
Yeah, understood.
And valued. So I kind of, the boy. You took the boy out of Basildon. But I got a bit of a polishing. That's
okay. Right.
So I've got I'm still a bit of street about me, if you like. It opened up my world to see, if you work hard and you are clever, study, wherever it was. But I didn't necessarily see it as being clever. But if you worked hard and applied yourself, this is the life that you can have.
Right.
So it was a very important lesson for me.
So your parents have invested in private school and they've sent you off to go and do that. And is that maybe part of the reason that your mum, when you told her that you were going back to sight, is disappointed too big a word? Do you think that's accurate?
It's fairly accurate.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it's fairly accurate because, it was a pretty heavy investment. And to be fair, I didn't really have any really direction of what I was going to do, but someone always said to me, I know you've probably heard it before, find a job that you love and you'll never work another day in your life. And that's something I've applied throughout my career.
Okay.
So every career I've had, if you like, I've loved what I've done. It's what I do now. I love getting up. I love going to work. I love, what I've created. And I don't class it as work, but you have those days. But generally, I think I'm very, very blessed.
So we'll go through the jobs that you've had up to this point, but
sure.
that's a really fortunate position to be in, that you can look back on the jobs that you've done and derive something, whether it's whether you can say you've enjoyed every day of it, but you can say consciously, I've been doing work that I have got a positive experience from throughout your life. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's a great position to be in.
I think I've also been fortunate. I don't know. It's the law of attraction, isn't it? That reaping and sowing. It's the harder you work. People say, "Oh, the luckier you get." It's not. It's not luck. It's hard work. It's applying yourself. It's consistently turning up. But what I will say, I've had some important people that have influenced me through my career and that have kind of helped keep me on track and mentored me. So again, going back to the fitness, when I ended up coming from the sites and then growing my fitness career, I jumped on the Fitness First bandwagon.
Okay, yeah. I think I shared this experience with you. I was a PT at Fitness First in Southend.
Yeah, well, I started off there as well.
Okay.
So we opened that club.
Yeah.
That was Club 7. And then I then went from there. And although I was a fitness instructor and a PT, I always wanted to run my own health club. So although my aspirations were fitness, for me, I always wanted to be. I wanted to have my own gym.
Right.
I wanted to be an owner and an operator. So I appreciate that I had to go, climb the ladders. But when I went with Fitness First and I took that job, it was an amazing opportunity. They were growing at an incredible rate. And whilst I was a fitness instructor and a PT, they made it absolutely clear that if you wanted to go to management, that you had to go through the sales route. So you had to be a sales, selling your memberships.
Yep.
Then you had to go into a sales manager role, and then from a sales manager you become a general manager. So again, it was that route that was really important, and that's where I grew as well.
So you saw that there were steps that were necessary for you to get where you needed to go. You're not going to bypass A to Z. You have to do all the steps along the way to actually get you up there. You talk about the fitness industry. You're on this construction site, learning all these skills, making money.
Yeah.
From the age of 16, 17?
17.
So what was it specifically about fitness that then lured you away from construction? Or were you spinning both plates at the same time?
I wasn't, but I guess I was lured into the fitness industry because I wanted to be a PT and I wanted to, be part of that industry. And I wanted to have, I've always wanted to have my own business.
Okay.
And that goes right the way back to when I first stepped into fitness. I was working at Brentwood School doing the recreation attendance. And then there was I was helping out, there was a thing called Fit Kids. Okay. So you would basically, you'd get various different age groups and you'd bring the kids in and you'd be playing games and, fitness activities with them. Not, and it was more game led, which I really enjoyed. And it was like, just you was having fun with kids and, and I was getting paid for it. It was brilliant. But then for me to do your course, so I sort of said to Dad, I want to do the course. He was like, would you lend me the money? And he was like, yeah, fine, no problem. While I was there doing the course, whatever it was, I said, they then pitched, you could have your own area and do your own Fit Kids. And straight away, the kind of entrepreneurial part of me was like, I'll have a bit of that. Yeah. Right. Dad, could you lend me another couple of grand? And I came home with like 20 space hoppers, a parachute. And next thing you know, I'm running my own group activities for kids, as far as like Hornchurch and Basildon, Southend. So amazing. I was running those. But it was, that's how I kind of went into fitness. And then I then took that to a club in Basildon, which was Pips Hill Country Club, which was Festival Leisure, before it's Festival Leisure. Worked for a small private fitness company there that had the consultancy for that site. And then I was doing Fit Kids there. And then one of the instructors was going over to Southend, and she said, look, Damien, we want to get you over there. I mean, back then I was teaching 15 to 20 aerobics classes a week. Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. Lycra, all that jazz.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Yeah, it sounds, I'm not going to make the podcast all about me, although I have tried to do that in the past. But it sounds like a very similar trajectory to my experience working in fitness. So I started work. Do you know Clements Hall in Hockley?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was over there doing kids parties, kids activities, all the summer camp stuff. And then I started working for the NHS and some local kids fitness camps as well. So these were NHS funded courses for kids that might be slightly overweight and wanted to get more activity in as well. So just hearing about your kind of trajectory and then starting a franchise as well. I used to work for Essex Boot Camp and start doing those kind of boot camp style exercises as well as the PT stuff. So it sounds like a very similar kind of thing. But what appealed to me about the fitness industry is the same thing as you. You could be your own boss quite easily.
Yeah.
So that entrepreneurial streak and mixing I'm going to ask you in a minute whether you age out of the fitness industry as well, whether you get, and I mean that respectfully, whether you get to a point and you start thinking, is this for me longer term being a PT, wearing lycra, teaching 15 classes?
There's a credibility kind of, but I wouldn't say you necessarily age out. I think you progress into, for me, it would be management. So, but yeah, I didn't have aspirations to be in lycra for in my 50s, let's put it that way. But I've always had those aspirations to be an owner, operator in whatever I've done. So
it led you to fitness first, and then I think because we've had a chat before recording about some of what you did as part of the fitness industry. You were travelling a lot with clubs and opening them. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, it was the career path that they set out. So I then went into sales, and then I went into London, and they were just starting to open their first London clubs. So I went into Kilburn. Pre-sales as the club was opening, doing all the sales there. Then went over to Brixton, then into Camden, and then I stayed there as GM. That was my first GM role, and then ran my own club, and then went to a bigger club. Then I went out to Ipswich and ran a 3,000 member club, and then from there became a cluster manager. So you oversaw 3. And then from there, I went out to Hong Kong, opened up 3 of the 4 clubs there. Then came back, and then I was Central London sales manager, 60 clubs. And by then, I'd had enough. It'd been diluted. I was disillusioned. I was just a number. Right. When I first started, I felt like you made a difference. Yeah. And then I came back and I was like, this is totally changed. This is just a machine.
You're a very small part of a very big machine at that point, aren't you? When you've gotten to that global level and you can see the contribution you're making, but maybe that's not valued. And I think a lot of people start to get disillusioned with work because of exactly that. They're just a very small part of a big machine. How many years were you in it for, though? Because it sounds like to have achieved all of the things that you're listing there, you must have been in the thick of it. 10 years.
10, 12 years. Okay. Yeah.
So what happened next then?
From there, I then set up a consultancy. So then I ran some health clubs where I supplied fitness instructors, sales consultants, and there I then took a job working for an American equipment manufacturer.
Okay, so still in the fitness
industry.
Still
in fitness.
Right, okay.
So juggling a couple of balls. I then had Central London, and then I had just a fortuitous meeting. I was asked to go to a meeting in Holland Park. You're going to meet Jean, the butler. As I walk in, and you're going to see you're going to meet the client there. Just whatever she wants, we'll sign it off. Great. So me, the boy from Basildon, and in comes the lady, and I was like, right, okay. She said, right, I want this, I want this, I want that. And I said, okay, fair enough. I said, but you can just buy one of these machines, with adjustable pulleys and arms. I said, and it'll do a lot more. And you'll get a
multi-gym setup, basically.
Kind of thing, yeah. And she's like, okay, really? And she said, my last personal trainer said, and I said, look, it's up to you. I said, I'll tell you whatever you want. But she said, well, look, if I buy it, would you come back and show me how to use it? I was like, of course I do. It's part of the service. Came back, and then she said, look, would you become my personal trainer? And I said, well, I've got a full-time job. And she said, yeah, no, we'll sort the numbers out. You'll come back. I'll talk to Jean. And then, anyway, came back and, I spoke to Jean. She went, yeah, she really likes you. She wants you to be a PT. Give that job up, mate. I was like, okay, fine.
Right.
And then, private jet. We're going to go to Paris, then we're going to go out to I had 6 months out in the Hamptons.
No
flying
way.
in like helicopters in and out of New York. Yeah, it's crazy, absolutely crazy.
What an experience to have, though.
It was amazing. But you're living in someone else's bubble. Your life just doesn't.
Well, it's a lifestyle choice. You have to be quite liberated from some of the responsibilities that you now have, let's say. So you maybe it's not the lifestyle where you can have a family or a partner or a relationship or a healthy work-life balance when you're really at the whim of someone that's got that level of money and the means to be going, right, we're off.
Yeah.
Get on board. What an experience, though, to look back on and say that
incredible.
You did it.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
Really incredible. Met some amazing people. Had a great time.
Yeah.
And and great memories. Great to...
So you're, I mean, you could, with what you've achieved in the fitness industry, all the credibility that you've got, very easy to carry on making money and doing that as well. So how are we now speaking to you?
Well,
portfolio.
I then bought my own chain of gyms. So I had some ladies only gyms.
Right, okay.
And I came back into construction, but I got myself in a little hole, needed some money, and I went to one of my friends and said, look, could I just borrow some money? He said, yeah, no problem, on the proviso that you think about coming to work for me. And then that's where I went back into construction. So I got hooked in.
Did you,
back.
When at any point in your career, could you have imagined where you'd be now and the journey that it's taken you on? So as 16-year-old you going onto a construction site after telling your mum, I'm not going to university or college, this is what I'm going to do. Could you have imagined that trajectory?
No. Where I am now and what I've created, no. I mean,
because it's this term squiggly career, right, has been normalised now. It's being used quite a lot to describe. Everyone has the impression that we need to follow kind of incremental gains and this pathway up and up and up to achieve things. But actually, you're a great example of a squiggly career, because you've done different things in different areas. And yes, within Fitness First, you started to climb those management levels, which happens when there's a hierarchy into a bigger organisation. But it's lovely to hear the kind of route that you've taken to get you where you need to be, because it's not. If you went about it intentionally, that never would have happened. All the stuff that you've done wouldn't have happened.
But I think what these big blue chip companies offer you is the structure and the structure to grow, and and you can climb those steps. So, and I think that's really important.
So that experience in Fitness First has kind of given you a good grounding, foundational skills to then go and
because ultimately it's operations, it's managing teams, it's communication, being made accountable, especially in sales, and those sort of basic principles. If you learn those and you apply those to your career, you can then take those into another industry. I mean, like let's just say I'm here as a hospitality operator. You would still take that. You're managing the bar team, whoever it may be. You're still having to communicate. You're still having to operate those teams and various different trades. And I think you just apply it. You can still take those same principles and just reapply them.
Okay. Do you think if you hadn't had that experience at Fitness First, I guess you could question whether you'd even be here now, but you're taking the lessons that you've learned into the businesses that you're running today?
Yeah.
I guess cherry picking the best
cherry
bits.
Picking them. I mean, there was a really important guy. He was, his name's Rich Hudson. He was Australian, and the Australian model of Fitness First was it was phenomenal. They took everything, that was the blueprint, right, and then they just brought that over and they just took it to the UK.
Yeah, this is what works, we'll roll it out. Yeah.
That's where it worked. And Rich was truly was a mentor to me. He was, really worked me hard. It was 6 days of, we work Saturdays, and then Sundays was a day off, but mentored me. I, went to, Tony Robbins and did, his, 3 or 4 days with him out in Singapore. So really understood sort of the psychology and, the process of how you grow, personal growth, and how you need to apply yourself and what you need to do.
I think when you've gone through sales training and it gives you a kind of quite a structured mindset and a pathway and a bit of a narrative, there's narrative steps to sales, isn't there?
Yeah.
You start to understand the psychology, and that can apply to absolutely anything.
Yeah.
We had Hamid on from Brunchco, and he said basically any industry is a sales industry.
Absolutely.
You are selling in anything. Yeah. So if you can pick up that framework and apply it to anything, you should be able to win work in any area, really.
Yeah.
So I think I always react to sales and sales training with a bit of it kind of makes me anxious.
Yes.
To think, because I, as a recruiter, have had to sit through sales training. I also did gym membership sales at Fitness First, had to sit through sales training as well. And I think it's a particular type of person that can really embrace that and lean into it and be successful with it. I wasn't that person, but it sounds like you've taken those lessons to use them going forward.
I mean, I think they're important life lessons.
Yeah,
they are really, you make an impression of someone within the first, 10, 15 seconds. And then there's, mirroring where if someone's open or, they're sitting at the desk closed, and you can help people feel a little bit more relaxed, leaning into your chair. It's, all of these kind of things. I know it sounds silly, but it's important how because ultimately everybody, when you're buying something, you buy into somebody.
Yes, yeah.
And how you conduct yourself and hold yourself, and if you can make people feel relaxed and easy, you're just in that first 10, 15 seconds, as when you're selling, I think they're really important. Skills.
Selling gets a bad rap as well, though, doesn't it? Like, there is a real negative stereotype. The minute you label something sales or selling, people kind of
because it's scripty. It's a script, and there's a process. Whilst there's a script, I always called it a structure. You can follow that structure, but you put your own personality into it. So you kind of guide people through that. When you can hear someone when they ring you up, and and I get loads. I still get loads of them, and I'll listen to them, and I'm like, have you finished that script yet, mate? Yeah. Okay. All right, mate. I'm still not interested, but have a great day.
Yeah. Does it give you a greater level of empathy though, having gone through that yourself? Like, you must have had to make sales calls, cold calls.
Yeah.
I don't know if your previous roles ever involved knocking on people's doors even to get to that point.
I did.
But have you got empathy
ago,
for
absolutely.
For people?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you an example. And this, my wife, she knew straight away. I come in from work. It must be about 7 o'clock, and as I've pulled up, there's a lady standing at the door, knocking on the door, and I went, "Oh, you're right." She said, "Yeah, I was just." Your wife's just inside. She's just getting the code or something. I went, "Oh, right, sorry." She said, "I'm a rep for HelloFresh." I went, "Oh, okay, yeah, we've had that stuff." Walk in the door. So just bear with me. Close the door. She went, and she's cooking, and she went, "Babe, could you just tell her not to I'll come back another day." I was like, "Look, it's 7 o'clock. Give her a second. I mean, it's really hard work. It's pitch black out there." I opened the door. I said, "Come in, love." And she went, "What, really?" I said, "Yeah, come in." In she comes. And then Sam's cooking. And then she's looking at me going, "Oh, God, you've got her in here." And then anyway, so I'm now having a conversation with her. I said, "All right, so how you do? Yeah, where are you from?" I said, are you team leader? Have you got 6 of them in the car? You have to pick them up." She went, "Yeah." I went, "Okay."
So you knew it, yeah.
She went, "All right." I said, "All right, where are you from then?" She went, "I'm from Dartford." I went, "Oh, bloody hell." And then she's talking, and she's explaining herself, and she was speaking so articulate. I loved the way she held herself, the way she was speaking. She didn't know us from Adam. And then we were going on and on. I said, "So what's your aspirations?" And I'm talking to her, and my wife looks at me and she says, "I know where you're going with this." And then
did you hire her?
I tried. I offered her a job. I said, "Are you looking for some weekend work?" And I said, "Look, there's my card." And anyway, I said, "Look, we'll sign up. We'll do it all." And we've still got HelloFresh. And that's another sub. That's a great little thing. But anyway, she never called me. But I just thought,
you identify qualities in people, don't you, that you've seen through the years that can make, and that goes to hiring in general. Sometimes you don't need to have a job, you don't need to have a job description, you don't need to have an open role to be hiring for, but you can sense something in someone, the way they handle themselves.
Absolutely.
And communicate.
I just for that particular mate, it was pitch black outside. It was like 7 o'clock at night. She's knocking on doors to try and make a living. Do you know what? I'll give you 10 minutes of my time, of course. Yeah. And she was really lovely. That was the first impression I got at the door.
I think the mindset with that level of sales is just like to even be out at 7 o'clock and to go and knock on people's door. Like, if you can do that level of maybe it's not even confidence. It's just you've got conviction. I'm going to go and do this, and I'm going to sink or swim, like baptism of fire, whatever. Just to have the bravery half the time to go and knock on someone's door.
It's huge. It's almost like that leathered skin, like just being told no. No. Not even fuck off. It's just like not. It's
or worse.
It's worse. And sometimes you've got to detach yourself from that, and you don't know what's going to happen on the next one, and the next one. And then just going back to that lady, she then gave her missus a few more codes and said, "Look, you can get another 20% off that next week and what have you. So sometimes just being nice
goes a
long way.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you for that, because I do think what you learn in sales, as you say, is transferable across anything that you're going to run. And it feels like you've taken those lessons into the businesses that you're now operating. You're back in construction after, you know, I guess this person has seen something in you and an opportunity by, here's some money, but also I want you in the business. They've seen the value that you're going to bring to the table. Bring me up to this point now. I want to kind of get it up to present day, if that's okay.
Yeah.
What leads you now from getting back into construction, not running a business in construction at this stage, to now setting up Braestone?
Yeah.
Can you give me the abridged version of that?
So give you the
condense it, yeah,
condense it. So it was a friend of mine and was starting up his own construction investment business. Ended up working for him for probably 3 or 4 years.
You're off the tools though at this stage, right? You're not.
Yeah.
So as a tradesperson yourself,
no.
Yeah, no. Okay.
You seen these hands?
Yeah. So what? If you don't mind me asking, what are you bringing to the table at that point? Is it more sales? Yeah, the face. Okay.
It's sales. It's operations.
It's the people. It's the people facing side of the business that is as important as actually getting the people to go and do the work. It
wasn't construction directly. So it was an investment company where we were taking investment to then grow. Investment to look at development. So we would buy land.
Got you.
Go through planning.
Yeah.
And then from the planning, we would then either sell the site or build it out.
So it's relational, very much about the relationships you're building. Okay.
And then from there, we then started to then build out those projects. And that's where we set up the construction company. Right. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. Okay. And that was a pretty bad experience I had. And out of that, though, opportunities don't come gift wrapped in a bow, do they? You know, it was a bittersweet. So although it was a really, really, really tough, proper shit time, I formed my own company and then managed to grow, and that's where I started off Braestone Construction. Right. So without dwelling on it, it was a real tough time. But just around that, I might have shared it to you before. I think at some point in your life, whether it's your career, your personal life, your health, you can apply it across. You have to really, and I use the word suffer, to grow. Obviously, you can educate and apply yourself, but sometimes, I think you've got to fail, especially in business. Failing and not succeeding, full stop, is really important. Like, when you don't have anything, you don't have any money, you can't see the wood through the trees. It's that's where I was at one stage. So you've got to.
Until that happens, hindsight is great, isn't it? Hindsight's 20/20, and to go through those failures and to know you've come out the other side is brilliant. At the time, you're too close to it, aren't you, to realise that just by zooming out slightly and projecting yourself 6 months into the future, knowing things are going to change. But it's hard when you're stuck in the bog and you're wading through shit. And your mental health can suffer. Yeah. The quality of life, the life you've built, the things that you've got. Sure. That can all have a huge impact. So, like you say, you don't want to dwell on it because now you're well out of that, and you're looking at a life and a businesses that you've built and family that you've got, and you're in a much more positive space. But at the time, it's a tough.
It's day and night from where I was to where we are now.
Yeah. But what's the biggest lesson that you learned from that experience, from the negative experience? What have you taken with you from it? A more kind of positive outlook.
What's the lesson I took from that? Taking control of my own destiny again, because I'll put my future in somebody else's hands, which was probably the first time I'd done that for a long time. And I also was probably too trusting. Well, there was no probably. I kind of had the wool pulled over my eyes and just said, look, that's fine. That's right. If you say so, I'll go with it. Yeah. And it just got to a stage where actually this is a disaster. This is not going to end well.
But again, you learn that, don't you? Again, because I don't think it's a bad thing to be trusting.
No.
To go in and believe that the person or that the setup is right. I think that's great. You have to kind of lean into that.
It's another lesson.
Yeah.
It was another lesson and another lesson learned. Yeah. And you just go through, they're the pages and the chapters of life. And it's like you said, it's so easy to sit back now in hindsight and say,
should have done that.
Should have done that. It was an absolute blessing, really, because it then set me on my path where I am now.
Look, I used this phrase last week when we were having a conversation a couple of weeks ago with a guest, but it's transformative, isn't it? Things that test you like that and strip you back and make you think, oh my God, I'm on the edge here of losing everything. You grow through that. It's nothing grows in the comfort zone. It's the cliche, but I think it sounds like it's a positive thing. Looking back on it, it's a positive thing to have happened. So where are we at now with Braestone? Because you've been running for how long?
Now 7-8 years.
Okay.
Yeah, 7-8 years.
Okay.
30 guys, 10 vans, new premises, and we've diversified a little bit in the building construction market. So extensions, renovations. We're now landscaping. It's all part of the core business.
Yeah.
But now with new builds. So, and then off of the back of that has come the investment.
Yeah.
The investment business, which is what I was doing previously.
Yeah.
So again, I've just taken the best bits from that.
Yeah, tying it, you're taking threads and bringing it all back. And
again, just identifying really where my time is and what I'm spending a lot of my time with and how I'm trying to think about the next 10 years and what I want to be doing with my time.
So being a bit more, a word that I love is being like intentional. So being intentional about how you spend your time and the life you want to build and kind of feeling like you've got hands on the steering wheel rather than just free falling all the time and going, hey, we're going on a ride. I've got no fucking clue where.
I don't know where this is going to end up.
Bring some direction into it.
Yeah.
When you started Braestone 6-7 years ago, did you know you were going to build it to a team of 30 plus people? Did you have a vision for what you wanted to do?
I knew I wanted to build, but I think, I did to where I've got to today. No, I didn't realise. The new premises, the new warehouse, has been a game changer really for us. No, I wanted. I definitely wanted to obviously grow. And be known as a reputable builder.
Yeah.
But
to get a team of 30 people and to have diversified into those different arms of the business that you've got, I guess that happens organically and you'd identify a need and then
it's all been organic. Yeah. It's all been organic. I started off. I'd use my car and a trailer and a digger, and I would be the guy on the digger doing the groundworks, and managed to. And then I bought a van and put a man in a van, and put 2 men in a van and 3 men, and then it's just grown, and the work has just. I've managed to find the work, and now it's just grown and grown and grown. So taking some of the sales, my operations experience, and then some of the parts of what I've learned through the failures, and then taking those and then reapplying them in a right way, I guess.
Yeah. So it's a fantastic position to be in. What is the lesson that you've learned as a business owner this time round? Like, if you had to say the biggest takeaway that you've learned from running Braestone over the years that you have.
One of my my key phrase is inspect what you expect.
Okay.
With the industry that I'm in, I have to get out and see the work, see the team, see the guys. You don't sit in an ivory tower, unfortunately, or on a golf course. As much as I like, I'd like to be doing that. You have to be out and you have to be inspecting what I expect, if that's the standard that we're trying to achieve, not necessarily in terms of fit out or of decorating, but I mean if there's a hole there that's got to be dug, and we've got building control, or we've got insulation going in, or these kind of, and warranty providers that have got a standard, it's really important that we meet those standards, because it's going to cost you a fortune if you've closed the building up and then all of a sudden you haven't fulfilled or delivered to that specification.
Yeah, so there's collateral damage that will chase you at the end of the day. We talk about stereotypes of sales. There are stereotypes attached to construction and builders, and like we were saying before we started recording, I used to be a scaffolder. There are stereotypes all the way through.
You're not the typical scaffolder.
I haven't done it for a while. If you'd seen me back then, I might have ticked a couple of the stereotype boxes. But how are you mindful about that stereotype? Or I would imagine, do you feel like you are tackling that stereotype or having to keep that in mind? Or is it, again, a lot of the stereotypes are negative with the construction industry. So how do you combat that, or are you mindful of it?
I am. I've gone through a lot of wheat and a lot of chaff. So let's say it's you don't have to be that good in construction. There's a lot of mediocrity, right. And because it's not necessarily regulated. People that go into construction aren't necessarily academic.
Right.
So you've got to be able to manage personalities and performance in a sort of non-structured way. You can't sit down and say, right, we're going to have a one-to-one, with a ground worker.
Yeah, there's not many HR style things
really.
That you can implement in a construction firm.
But you've got to do it in a way where you're making them accountable, and but you've got to get out to site. You've got to be walking around and speaking to them, and
leading by example as well, isn't it? Because I guess some of the stereotypes that get attached to the industry are things about customer service or how you're dealing with people. Maybe that's not the cleanest cut way of always doing that. But if you're on site and leading by example and how you're engaging with people, that makes a big difference.
Well, you're leaving them. I can't be there holding their hands, and they are your reputation. They are working on your clients' properties.
Well, more than you are to a degree. If you've got a team doing a job, they are there for a lot longer than you would be on the whole project.
Yeah.
So they're your kind of business card that you're leaving there.
Yeah.
And how they act and how they go about their job is super important. So you've got to have eyes
very,
on that.
very lucky and fortunate. The team that I have, they are all, they've been with me now, some of them 6-7 years, tried, tested, and, they go the extra mile. One of the things I always say, and listen, there's always going to be mistakes. There's going to be things that, unforeseens, but it's how you deal with them. And, I always say, would you leave it like that in your home?
Yeah.
Would you want your wife coming home to that? Would you want your kids running around with that wire hanging down and potentially kill himself? You've got to have that mentality. I've got to have that mentality. I'm not saying that is the mentality that my team always have.
Yes.
And it's also very easy for me to walk onto the job and just pull it apart. So there's a balance there, because you've got to make them feel valued and listened to. Yeah. But you've also got to call out, if the site's a shithole, come on, pick that up. Come on, I've got you here as a labourer. You're walking around with your eyes closed.
It's nice that you acknowledge and value the fact that there is a balance. Because again, my brief experience as a scaffolder, the foreman that we used to have would turn up on a site and rip. It didn't matter who did what. You would be ripped a new one, to pardon my expression. Everyone was levelled in exactly the same way. And I can tell you, for the next 2 hours on that site, there wasn't any work getting done after they'd left. It was just...
F you.
You can imagine. Some of the choice words we were saying before recording were dropped excessively, and that does nothing. That's not going to motivate you.
That goes on in any industry. It doesn't matter what what you're doing.
It's more of a comment on management.
It's a management style, and again, that's something I've gone through. Where I've probably tried to be their friend too much, and then I've kind of now stepped away. But you can still you can still be nice, you can still be personable, and there's always
getting that balance. It's a fine line, isn't it? I think
there's tough conversations sometimes, but it's just making them you have to give. I feel like you have to give a little to get something back. And don't get me wrong, you don't always get that back, but at least you've given that the opportunity, and It's a constant challenge.
Yeah, but it seems like you seem to be introspective enough to at least ask yourself some questions around that. Could you, through the training you've done and through the development you've done, you've probably asked yourself a lot of questions. How can I be better?
Yeah.
I would imagine you're not sat there going, I'm the finished article. How I manage people is perfect. How I manage my business is perfect.
No. I say, by the way, there's negotiables and non-negotiables.
Oh.
Yeah, non-negotiable. You turn up at 7:45. The tools go away at 4:00. You get half hour for lunch. You start doing that, we're on a right path.
Right. Yeah.
Getting here at 4:15, then it's 5:30. It's like, oh, sorry, it's traffic. Get out of bed earlier, right, mate. I don't even need to talk about this. That's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, family is really important. If you're committed and you're turning up, and if you need to shoot off half an hour to go and see Johnny in his sports day, fantastic. Yeah, no problem. Got no problem with that. You've got to take those moments and cherish those moments.
Yeah, and again, you can empathise.
I want to make sure it's
yourself.
just. Sometimes the delivery will be late, and it's not that I'm keeping check, but if that they need to stay there till 4:30 and get that order in and that delivery, then I'd like to think it comes back.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Sometimes you've got to give before.
By giving you get a bit of credit back, don't you? So there's a little bit of flexibility. But if you're always cracking the whip,
don't try and take the piss out of me, but it's just being fair.
Wait a minute,
just try and be, but just be fair. And I've said this to guys that come on, I don't get up in the morning and think, right, how can I start screwing my guys and get a bit more out of them? I don't get up and think, right, I want to, and just to be horrible. I don't. I get up. I want to get in, whatever it is on site in the office, and I just want to make a difference, ultimately, Well,
I think turning the screw like that and cracking the whip is a short-term gain, isn't it? You might get a few more percentage points in terms of the workload out of them for a week.
But do you?
Yeah, well, but the following week you're going to get people buggering off, or when you turn your back. But yeah, like I said, it's more a comment on management style and leadership than it is on construction as an industry in the whole. I think it can be applied across the board. Absolutely. How you nurture those relationships and empathise with people. Do you know what? This is why I had started a business where it was just me, and I lasted 4.5 years without hiring anyone. It's because I didn't want to get involved in that anymore. Yeah. It's such a fine line and such an art when you get it right. So
it is, because you build a relationship. Yeah. And I have like if 30 kids, if you like. They're not, but it's they've all got individual wants and needs. Yeah. And sometimes a lot of this industry, it's hand to mouth. It's sometimes it's tough, and I get that, and I do what I can. They've got vans. I don't. I've got trackers, but I'm not sitting there every night going, right, where's he parked? I phone my guys, like, where are you? They're like, I'm just doing this, that, and the other. I can look. If there's a problem, then or I think I've got a problem, then I'll be on you. Yeah. Don't take the piss. Yeah. As one rule. Guy did. He went to Manchester for a festival in my van. So you didn't want to tell me about that?
Right, yeah.
No, sorry, did I put the petrol in that?
Yeah, that's validation for having the trackers, I reckon. Yeah. That decision is justified for sure. You talk about getting this new space. So this is the storage business that you just started, or so this is the new warehouse space. Yeah, you talk about that as a leap of faith.
Yes. Yeah.
Could you do it any other way? Taking that leap of faith and doing things that scare you, is that just part of running a business? And could you not do that? Could you have been happy and just plateaued and not taken that physical space on and started something else? You run a successful business. Yeah. Why do you need to do that?
I'm an opportunist.
Okay.
You know, I see an opportunity and I think, yeah, I can make that work, but it's still a leap of faith. You've got to, put your balls on the line and make it work because there's a financial commitment to what you're doing. At the time, we were looking for a new office. I had a yard, in Wickford and some containers down the marina, and it was just a bit disjointed. And I had a lot of stock and a lot of material, and I just wasn't staying on top of it all. And that space came available. I drove past it and saw it, but it was under offer, and then it became available again back in summer last year. And it's a big space.
Yeah, I drive past that every day, dropping the kids off, and I'm like, that is a big space.
It's a big space. Sure. So, but I knew I was in process of taking an office, but it was a shoebox. It was safe. You know, whether I, me and the girls are in there or I'm in there, once or twice a week, or for me personally, but that space there has been transformative in the respect that we've now grown into it. We've got a meeting room, offices, and we've now got all of our stores there. So we've got all of our sort of dirty materials, bricks, blocks, props, acros. Then upstairs we've got all of our stores where tiles and paint. And what's really good is when we're on jobs and the guys are phoning through saying, yeah, I'm just about to order this. So hang on a minute, no, we've got that upstairs. So I can stay on top of, actually utilising what we've got. Because what would happen is I'd drive around the site and say, no, don't throw that away, and that would go down the yard and I'd never see it.
Yeah, because it's out of sight, out of mind, isn't it? Yeah.
And I wouldn't drive to Wickford to go and, I'd never went to Wickford. Yeah. I didn't even clear it out. It was just, I didn't want to go there.
Yeah.
It was horrendous.
Yeah.
I get a photograph every 6 months saying, Damien, I think we need to get a skip here. There's so much crap, you got to clear it out. But that wasn't the point. I was, paying for rent and storage for a facility that wasn't really efficient. Because you think you're going to save all this stuff, and then it just wasn't being used. So, yeah, the new space is brilliant. It's and it's versatile, and it's kind of added value to the construction business. So, for example, one of the clients we're working for at the moment, we're doing their full house renovation. But their personal belongings are in one of our units.
Right.
So it's an easy solution. We Braestone removals. We've got men in a couple of vans. We can help out and move some bigger items, but it lends itself. And then we've opened it up to the public as well. So because I think as a holistic offering, it's a really good thing to do, and it leads into it. It's making a use of that space. Yeah. But going back to the point of where you're on the edge of making that decision, it seems pretty quickly that it's panned out okay. It's a leap of faith. Is it too early to say it's panned out okay? No, it's panned out.
It has really well, yeah.
No, but as soon as the roller shutters weren't working, but as soon as I walked in there, I saw that space exactly how it is now.
Yeah, wow.
I know that's where I walked around. I said, that's where the office is going to go. That's what I'm going to fence.
And how much are you led by your heart in making those decisions, or can you take a step back and do the numbers? Yeah. So I'm very heart led when I make decisions about business, and then maybe 6 months down the line after I've made that decision, I look at numbers. That's not the best way. I'm not saying that's a good way to do it, but I'm heart led. But what's the balance for you?
Yeah, the older I'm becoming, I'm more head.
Okay.
But if you've come from sales, we're the easiest people to sell to.
It does seem there's a case for that, for sure. Yeah.
If you're good at selling,
because you're selling it to yourself.
I'll give you. I'll just open my wallet. What holidays to wear? Yeah, sign me up.
Let's do it.
Yeah. The heart was. Absolutely, and probably one of the things I consulted my wife on when I went back, and she said, absolutely, I think you should take that space over the office that you were looking at. So, she validated that as well with head, and no looking back.
Yeah, brilliant. No, it's fantastic. I want to talk to you about your kids, if that's all right, Damien. I just want to ask how having kids has changed your relationship on work, because you were talking about the fact that getting the balance right and family time is really important to you. So how did that change? You've obviously gone from a life where you were working without having kids and being able to have all of that flexibility and to travel the world and do all these things. But how did having kids change your relationship and your outlook on work?
I think I've sacrificed probably a lot of my time in the early years with my girls. Where you're working and you're out there chasing the career. One of the things that was really important to me was that I wasn't going to be spending loads of time in the car commuting.
Okay.
That was really sort of fundamental.
Because that's
to
dead time in your opinion.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, when I was driving into London, doing an hour and a half in and an hour and a half back, I wouldn't think twice of it. Now, where we have some London work and fit outs, I've got no interest in going into London. Don't get me wrong, I'll go in for meetings, but project manager looks after that now. But yeah, as a rule, I wouldn't want my work to be in London, if you like, commuting, because I just think it's such a waste of. Well, yeah,
if you imagine time. 3 hours a day or a few times a week, it adds up, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It takes a hell of a lot away from your family.
So the central location we're in now, it allows me to, if I need to pick the kids up from school or drop them to school, which I used to do lots of when my youngest is now. They're both in senior school now. Yeah. So, it was really important to me.
Would you change the sacrifice that you made when they were younger, if you could? Or do you think that's just par for the course? Do you think it had to happen to allow you to get where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit. I think I did miss out on a bit. Now that they're in their teens, you realise you don't have them for long. It's another chapter, and I know it's cliche, but you really have got to try and switch off. And it's just so hard now. Mobile phones and your emails, all your socials, and
doing stuff like this.
I mean, the wife will be rolling her eyes because I'm constantly, and the kids, I'm constantly on my phone. Put the phone away, but it's work.
Yeah.
It's it's literally, it's just emails and, WhatsApp groups. I mean, probably, as like anyone else, I'm probably in about 30 WhatsApp groups. Yeah. I'm in WhatsApp groups with my clients, with their projects. They're sending me wallpaper and light fittings and whatever. And I like to be responsive.
Yeah.
Otherwise I'll forget about it and I haven't responded. And then I look like I don't care. And
that's a hard thing to condition yourself out of once you feel that success and why you've been successful in part has been because you've responded and been online at any time. That's really tough. I think it's part of with that.
How you deal with problems, full stop. It's got to be, you just get on with it, get it done. How you, for us as a business in construction, when there's a problem, deal with it now. And there's always it's the word snag. There's always snags at the end of a project. I can't get those snags done quick enough.
Right.
And if there is another problem, I'm fortunate with the team. I can pull one or two guys off to potentially go and pick up a snag, or whatever it may be.
But that's got to impact your ability to be present, hasn't it? So it occupies, I think anyone that runs a business, it's going to occupy part of your brain 24/7.
Yeah.
I don't believe that anyone, and I've not met someone yet that can switch off completely without some sort of cog whirring in the back of your head. But I suffer from the same thing as you, and I get a load of people give me advice about you need to have boundaries, you need to switch your phone off at a certain time and don't take it up to bed with you. And on those, I can always justify why I should have taken my phone because I've missed an opportunity or I missed an email that could have done with a response quickly or whatever. Yeah. And the world hasn't ended. That's always the argument. The world hasn't stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it probably never will because I haven't checked an email. But that's tough because society is now trying to push us to have more balance, which I think is a positive thing. Yeah. And at the same time, a lot of our success is linked to being on.
It is.
And responding and
it's a now world. Everything is now. It's like, we want it now. So you have to respond. If you're running your own business, you have to respond now. I go and see somebody and someone wants a quote for their landscaping, I don't send it to them in 3 weeks' time. I want that out 2-3 days' time now.
Yeah.
Because they're thinking about, it's going back to sales. Yeah. They're hot. They're thinking about it. You want to be on it now, not in 3 weeks' time.
What's the terminology? This is real salesy. Time kills deals.
Yes.
It's the psychology, though, of making decisions, isn't it? And I think when you understand that, when you have a deeper understanding of that, it's very hard to just sit on something.
I mean, it's a generalisation. If someone's going to be spending, £500,000, then it's not a now decision.
Yeah, you're not going to twist their arm to get them over the line in a day.
But I mean, if it's like in inquiries and things like that. So it's and that's the world we're in. And it is that word present is banded around a lot, and being present and understanding where you are. And I think it is. It's really important to lift your head up and have a look around and I am very grateful for where I am in my life and what I have around me.
Yeah, that's really lovely to hear. Do you work less now?
No. I'm probably working more.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm probably working more. When we get into summer, then I'll probably probably knock a day off. Yeah. So, do I work? No, I work more. Yeah. I'm up at 5:30 every morning. Don't need to set. I set the alarm, but it's and then
your body clock is
just switched on. At the minute, I'm working Saturdays.
Right.
That's because I'm not football coaching anymore.
Right.
And I'm waiting for the summer so I can get on a golf course. I have been a little bit more structured with having time off.
Right.
So when I get into summer, there's a couple of afternoons I'll try and block out, and we're fortunate where we live. We've got some lovely, walks. You've got the woods, obviously the seafront. So and obviously endless restaurants, bars. So it's nice just to go grab a lunch with friends, wife. And just try and get a bit of balance.
But that's the life that you've made those sacrifices for earlier on, to be able to build for yourself, isn't it? Again, it's not luck, it's hard work that's got you to that position.
Yeah, agreed. But it's also Leon C. That's why I live here, because I don't necessarily have to get in my car of a weekend. If I want to go for a workout or a run or a drink, or I can literally, you can walk into town. So
there's enough on your doorstep.
There's enough on your doorstep, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one question and then we're going to play a game.
Sure.
If that's okay. I always like chucking the game in because people don't... Sometimes we'll add it in, sometimes we don't, but we're going to play a game.
Cool.
But just one question before we get into that. What advice would you give to your kids as they start to think about getting a job?
Oh.
Maybe you're in that position already. I can't remember the ages of your kids, but what advice would you give them as they start to think about work? And
well, funnily enough, this has come up because my eldest is at that careers choice,
right? And
looking at careers. One of the things was just how AI is going to change. So, funnily enough, I spoke to Sienna and she said, I want to do this. I might go into insurance, Daddy. I was like, all right, why is that? She said, well, because so-and-so's got a lot of money and he's got a lot of money, and she's obviously aligns that with being successful.
Right.
And I said, but, darling, you've got to work your way up. And some of those jobs probably won't, by the time you come out of school, come out of college, will probably not be there. So that's something you've got to think about. And she's like, right, you're probably right. Oh, I'll be an air stewardess then. go back to the first one. So, my advice is there's no substitute for hard work. It is that simple. There is don't be a victim. Don't play the victim. Whatever happens to you, you've got to, unfortunately, sometimes you just got to own it, get on with it, and. There's no substitute for hard work. I have two girls. My youngest, she's football. I wouldn't say football crazy, but she's half decent.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about football, let's not go there. But one of the things that is her commitment, and it's like the discipline to go. She doesn't always want to go to the training. It's raining, and she'll go. And same with my oldest. We get up in the morning. We'll do a class or a couple of classes a week, and then she did have a job. She's now working for me, but it's having that commitment of getting up, and now she's starting to earn money and have an appreciation and a value for money.
Yeah, so discipline. Just going back to your point, I think is really important, and the lessons that you teach your kids along the way of just having to turn up sometimes and just be somewhere and have, again, if you're saying you're going to do something, then do it, see it through. Yeah. I was going to ask you, before you said that your daughter would start to work with you, going back to the point of your parents turning around and going, no, this isn't a route for you to come. Yeah. I was going to say, do you share the same view? If this became a longer term thing where your daughter wanted to carry on working with you and have that opportunity, what's your take on that?
Well, I probably don't think she's that great at digging holes or with a paintbrush. No, we've spoke about her maybe going into architecture and studying architecture and maybe moving into that sort of professional world. I have no problem for working for me. The reason Sienna comes in and she does the cleaning and she'll be in the office for a bit now. But it's just being disciplined. I don't want them sitting indoors. They're not into gaming or obviously they're on their phones. But I just want them getting up and having that responsibility of having to get up and do something.
And if that gives them the environment to be able to just really hone those skills and get that bedded in, that's a positive thing.
So Sienna, last week show she got up, she did her 2-3 hours, and then she sat there and she did some homework. Yeah, she's getting paid to do her homework. Great, I don't have any problem with that. But she's had to get up, get out of bed, and now she's investing in herself. Yeah, and that's what you're trying to do with your kids, right? You're trying to prepare them for the real world. Maybe it's not quite the real world, but it's still...
It's work ethic, isn't it? And I think that's a really important thing. If you can drill that into their heads quite early on, and when I say that, it sounds aggressive, but you know what I mean? Like, you're just embedding those skills so they can go out into the world and...
Absolutely.
And hopefully make a name for themselves.
They know, they see how hard I work and the time and I put in. The amount of time we're in the car and they're like, oh... a whole hour of Dad on the phone. It's, are we there yet, Dad? Shh. And it's another phone call and another phone call. But they understand that is, that's just that's
part and parcel of it.
Part and parcel. That's inside the bread's buttered, and that's how we go to work.
Yeah, understood. Okay. I think being able to think and support your kids to make those decisions, it's a hard question to answer, if I'm honest as well. Like, I think there's a school of thought that you want your kids to do well. All you can do is give them the tools. Yeah. I think that's all we can do. Like, again, for me, I've got a 4 and a 7-year-old, so I'm a little way off them having to think about work. But I've said this a lot. I think about the world and what it's going to look like in terms of jobs by the time they are working. And God knows what jobs are going to be left. God knows what jobs are going to be automated, what work is going to look like for them. But as long as I can give them the tools to go out there and do something. And I do think I want them to find a job that they're happy in. Yeah. But you, as you say, you don't see work as work. You see it every day as something that you really enjoy.
I want them to, hopefully find a career that they enjoy. Yeah. Because if you're going to work and you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's just absolutely soul destroying. I mean, I've watched a lot of your pods, and like Hamid was saying, standing there on the train line, and you're going to be doing that.
Tallying up how many years of your life you will be on a commute.
I did it, but in a car. There was a trade-off for it. I was trying to climb that career ladder. Yeah. So and everyone's got different different expectations and values. I've said to the kids, there's a lot of kids there that don't see their dads till 7 o'clock at night. Yeah. They're up, they're out, and they don't go to the assemblies or to the Harvest Festival or to the sports day, because that is where they are. They're in London or wherever they may be. Yeah. So you're fortunate that Dad can come and see you, and it's almost like it's expected now. Yeah. When my youngest is doing anything, if I'm not there, Christ,
Yeah. There's a lot of pressure on dads now, I think. If we're talking about our generation of parenting, it's very different from the expectations that were on our parents before. Like looking at what we are expected to do, I think that's changed. That's a whole other podcast maybe, but that's it has evolved over the years. Thank you very much for answering that question. We're going to play a game now. It's a game of this or that.
Okay.
We're going old school, guys. We haven't played this or that for a long time. So I'm going to read you 2 options. You need to pick one.
Okay.
That's it. It's as simple as that. So I'm not going to tell you. It's kind of related to what you do. That's always the goal.
6, 7.
So, you said 6, 7. That's got to be a social clip. Okay. So this or that. There's going to be about 10 of these.
Okay.
So don't think about it too much. No context on the answer. Are you ready to play this or that?
Shoot.
Okay. Open plan living or separate rooms?
Open plan living.
Kitchen island or breakfast bar?
Same thing.
I guess it is. I'm going to make the argument that a breakfast bar could be on the side of the room, not in the centre.
Peninsular island.
A peninsula island. Oh, God, you've...
Island.
You've
Kitchen
top-trumped
island.
me there. Okay. Garden office or home gym?
Garden office.
Okay. New build or renovation?
Renovation.
You can go. You can
I
go.
think
with
there's
me.
more value in a renovation.
Okay. There's no judgment on these.
Value,
either.
not from my opinion, but I think clients will. Everyone's got a home. Well, I say everyone's got a home, but where we work is, I think people get more value out of a renovation.
Okay.
Adding value.
Okay.
More added value.
Project finished early or under budget?
I would say. I think they're both inherently linked.
Okay.
Under
Good.
budget.
Okay, good. Planning permission or building inspectors?
I'd rather have a planning permission.
The building inspectors turning up, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Perfect plans or perfect budget?
Perfect budget.
Okay. I guess you can get perfect plans if you've got a perfect budget, right? One leads into the other. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm picking holes in my own choices now. Working with architects or working with homeowners?
Ooh.
Who are you going to offend?
I will say I've got a great relationship with my architect and with my clients.
Yeah.
So I would say clients.
Okay. Thank you for getting off the fence, though, because that's the important thing. You've done it. So
I wasn't going to be safe.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Can't stay neutral. Bifold or sliding doors?
I've got both, and I'd probably lean towards sliding doors.
It used to be bifold, didn't it? Everyone was going bifold, but I'm seeing a bit more chat about sliding doors. Like I know what I'm talking about.
Triple track.
Oh, you've lost me straight away. Last one. Arsenal win the league or a record year for the business?
Sorry, babe. Arsenal win the league. I'd rather.
I had to have a... See, I do know. I know a bit of the football stuff. Okay, thank you very much. That's done. Thank you for indulging me in the game. We've got the closing tradition on the podcast.
Yes.
Which is a question from my mum. So she sends in a voice note.
Okay.
And let's see what she's drummed up this week. I'm just going to find it.
Hi, Damien. My husband was a scaffolder for over 30, 40 years. I just wondered who you would call the trickiest tradespeople to work with. Thanks very much.
So my mum's name's Lisa. I mean, she's led with scaffolders, so I don't want that to be weighted. But who would you say are the trickiest tradespeople to work with? Again.
Oh, I tell you, that's just the prima donnas are probably carpet fitters.
I didn't expect it to go that way.
Absolute fucking princesses. Honestly.
Really?
Do you want me to lay it for you, mate? Really? Hoovered, out the way, no one on site. Come on. Yeah, don't get me started.
Well, I feel like this is a recent experience for you.
Recent experience.
Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a trigger point for you then.
I think it's who you've got around you, really.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay.
No, sometimes wallpaper, but yeah. No,
Any of them on a given day.
Yeah.
It just depends who you're working with. I think she wanted you to say scaffolders.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I've used a few, choose my words carefully, but I've got a great scaffolder. They're good. But Yeah.
Interesting
It can all be
experience.
hard work to some degree, but again, it's communicating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Scaffolders, they don't like having anything put through their boards, do they?
No, not at all. They've got
No.
to protect the boards. Yeah, for sure.
But
for
our
sure.
guys put bits of timber and batten to put their ladders on, and then they come to strike it.
Well, thank you so much for that. I appreciate you sitting through the questions and sharing your experience. It's been a real pleasure, Damien. And I just wish
Likewise.
you the best of luck. Like, for
Thank you.
this chapter that you're in now, 6-7 years in, it's still relatively new and it's still growing, and it seems like you've got plans, and like you say, you're opportunistic. So I can imagine we're going to see a few more things happen over the next couple of years as well. So thank you so much for coming in.
Been a pleasure. Thank you for having
Appreciate it. Cheers. Well done, mate. That was awesome. That was brilliant. Smashed it, mate.
me. Thank you.